evidence that in the chaotic fighting that took place once Hamas militants entered Israel on October 7th, the Israeli military decided to target not only Hamas fighters, but the Israeli captives with them. Tuval Escapa, a member of the security team for Kibbutz Beria, told the Israeli press he set up a hotline to coordinate between kibbutz residents and the Israeli army. Escapa told the Israeli newspaper Aretz that as desperation began to set in, quote, the commanders in the field made difficult decisions, including shelling houses on their occupants in order to eliminate the terrorists along with the hostages. The newspaper reported that Israeli commanders were, quote, compelled to request an aerial strike against its own facility inside the Erez crossing to Gaza in order to repulse the terrorists who had seized control. That base housed Israeli civil administration officers and soldiers. Israel in 1986 instituted a military policy called the Hannibal Directive, apparently named for the Carthaginian general who poisoned himself rather than be captured by the Romans, following the capture of 2 Israeli soldiers by Hezbollah. The directive is designed to prevent Israeli troops from falling into enemy hands through the maximum use of force, even at the cost of killing the captured soldiers and civilians. The directive was executed during the 2014 Israeli assault on Gaza, known as Operation Protective Edge. Hamas fighters on August 1st, 2014 captured an Israeli soldier, Lieutenant Hadar Golden. In response, Israel dropped more than 2,000 bombs, missiles, and shells on the area where he was being held. Golden was killed, along with over 100 Palestinian civilians. The directive was supposedly rescinded in 2016. Joining me to discuss the reports of Israel shelling its own citizens with tanks and missiles is Max Blumenthal, who investigated this for the Gray Zone. So you did a wonderful job piecing together these reports that are coming out of Israel. Why don't you just lay out what Israeli commanders faced after roughly 10 hours, several hours after this incursion, and then, of course, perhaps give me some details about what you found out.
Together what happened on October 7th. And one reason that I'm sort of left investigating even after this report that I thought was comprehensive was that in the face of so much death and destruction caused by Israel's military in Gaza, which is basically tantamount to genocide. I mean, you have systematic killing in Gaza. Everyone I know there has, luckily, I don't know anyone who's been killed, but everyone I know there has lost neighbors or relatives. They've all lost their homes. And so the Israeli military and the prime minister's office, Netanyahu's office, are recycling October 7th atrocities. And they're also introducing new deceptions in order to try to keep the media's lens focused on October 7th now that it is starting to home in on the horror of Gaza. And we have all these new stories about babies baked in ovens. We've heard stories about babies cut out of mothers' wombs by so-called Hamas terrorists, rape, gang rape, women after being taken captive, gang raped in the streets in Gaza City. All of these lies were spun out. And of course, the 40 beheaded babies repeated by Biden, who claimed he'd seen photographs. All of these lies were repeated and put forward in order to give Israel the latitude to carry out this genocidal assault that we're now witnessing. And we can see Biden was so stunned by the propaganda that was being pushed on him by Netanyahu's office and the pro-Israel media that he immediately caved. And Tony Blinken, in his recent Senate testimony, also repeated some of these lies. So I'm still trying to unpack it because